out strategy to reposition Nigeria's solid mineral sector. Its impact is already manifesting in its careful capacity upgrading in key agencies, as well as its plans for artisanal miners, amongst other things. With more funding, MINDIVA can work miracles in Nigeria's economic diversification agenda.
Illegal exportation of our solid minerals is economic sabotage. You can do the mineral export business the right way. Apply for a mineral export license. Get and fill the Certificate of Incorporation Forms CAC 2 and 7. Give the source of the mineral. Get an inspection report. Pay royalty of 5% only and pronto. We are in the mineral export business legally and responsibly. Stop the illegal exportation of our solid minerals. For further inquiries, visit us at our headquarters, number 2, Luanda Crescent, off Adetokumbo Ademola Crescent, Wuse Zone 2, Abuja, FCT, Nigeria, or call us on +234 952 390 64 or +234 908 740 4761. This message from the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development.
And now for an update from around the globe as some mining jurisdictions resume operations after the lockdown on COVID-19 pandemic. Keep watching.
The Mineral Council South Africa has declared that the country is well prepared to deal with the return to work of a large percentage of staff as lockdown alert levels move from level 4 to level 3 on June 1, 2020. The Council noted in its second weekly COVID-19 update briefing on May 29 that it has sound medical quarantining, screening, testing and treating infrastructure which has been used to combat tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS within the industry and which has resulted in a robust framework that can be adapted and used to test miners for COVID-19 going forward. CEO of the Minerals Council South Africa, Roger Baxter, adds that the Council has also consistently done a lot of work around a set of control measures based on risk, prevention and mitigation, thereby formulating a set of standard operating procedures which were adopted by all parties and are reflected in the directives issued by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to members to help guide them in their fight against COVID-19. Vale has obtained a court injunction to reverse the order to shut down its Itabire iron ore mine by Brazilian labor authorities, which reported that 200 local employees have tested positive for coronavirus. Vale's operating license was suspended when health agents said that the company's on-site activities had not respected the rules of social isolation. Vale, however, said that since the start of the COVID-19 outbreak, its priority is to guarantee the safety of its workers. It also said that it is providing assistance to employees during the pandemic and that it does not disclose employee test results.
Like some other countries, the Nigerian mining sector cannot wait to reopen fully so that the careful plans put in place by the federal government can continue to yield positive results for the overall prosperity of the land. Join me same time next week for another episode. Till then, stay safe and thanks for staying tuned.
Akili. Will you wash your hands with me? I want to wash my hands with you. Come on.
Job cuts or reduction of emoluments. Why is the case different in Nigeria?
Well, thank you, Cyril. As you rightly put it, the challenge to job losses and income losses is a global issue now with the challenge of COVID-19. But also in many of those countries, they are looking at country-specific issues. We cannot just, for the sake of doing it, try to adopt hook, line, and sinker what is happening in other climes. We have very good example even from our contemporaries, African countries that have been very innovative in approaching this issue. It's twofolded. One is the fact that we are not at the same level of development with some of those advanced climes where they have social security cover that is very extensive and that covers everybody, including unemployment benefits. In our case, we don't have such. And in our case, even those working in well-established organizations, the social security cover is not there, it's not enough.
Wash your hands with the
When you lose your job in Nigeria, whether in the informal or formal sector, there is no perfect social security cover. So this is one issue. The second issue is the high unemployment rate. The unemployment rate today in Nigeria is so high that even the number we are putting in public domain, I'm not sure it captures the issue because the issue of data in Nigeria has become a problem. We don't have an empirical data to actually point to what we are saying. So if you look at these two scenarios, it then means that we have to be very careful, we have to be strategic, we have to be smart, we have to be innovative in responding to this issue. In those climes, because of those provisions of perfect social security cover, they can actually go ahead to do some layoff because there are unemployment benefits. That once you are unemployed, you are sure that there is a benefit coming to you. But in the context of Nigeria, especially the most vulnerable, it will be a threat to the system, to the security system, to the social fabric of our country if we just adopt some of those procedures, hook, line, and sinker. And that's why we said, clearly with the challenge we are going through, we must be very strategic. Yes, there are challenges, but the preposition of labor and what is also happening around some climes is to have a social dialogue around the issue of job protection, income protection, and even the threat to jobs. The employers have key into this, and the Federal Ministry of Labor, including the federal government, has also made pronouncement in respect of this. In fact, I recall the presidential address. He clearly said that we must respect our laws.
Okay.
We must respect also the dignity of labor. Labor is not merely a commodity that he just take decision over and above his head, shaving his head in his absence because he has no...
The facts verified. Beware of fake news. Don't be a victim. Stay tuned to the NTA.
Especially at this time of the coronavirus pandemic.
My name is Nnamdi Ojipo.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind us all that this pandemic is spreading like wildfire. We must all arise to fight this potent and invisible common enemy by adhering to the guidelines and protocols for COVID-19, which includes personal hygiene, social distancing. We must wear masks in public places, obeying the stay-at-home order, and reporting unusual illness to the...
La ilaha illallah.
President Muhammadu Buhari joins worshippers for congregational prayers at State House Mosque after months of lockdown.
Already there are warning signals. The security agencies need to act proactively.
INEC raises alarm over looming violence ahead of conduct of party primaries in Edo and Ondo states. Federal government set to empower 77,400 young farmers on agriculture business. Plus, gunmen abduct 6 persons, including 5 children in Kaduna. It's It's another Friday evening, and thanks for joining us on the Network News at 9. I am Juma Yusuf. We are beaming live from the nation's capital. Hope you're still keeping safe and observing all the safety protocols. Tonight, Hingino John Adams will be reading from Lagos and Jenny Bassi from Port Harcourt. Nice to have you join us. We begin with the presidency and the first Jumat prayer after the ease of lockdown, as for the first time in nearly 3 months, Jumat congregational prayer was observed in the State House Mosque. President Muhammadu Buhari was among the worshippers. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports.
La ilaha illallah.
The resumption of Jumat prayers in Abuja and other parts of the country followed the reopening of more segments of the nation's economy from the COVID-19 lockdown, as efforts are intensified towards flattening the curve. The chief imam of the State House Masjid, Ustaz Abdul Wahid Suleiman, led the prayers in conformity with stipulated guidelines on physical distancing. Allahu Akbar. The presiding imam admonished the Muslim faithful to at all times listen to health authorities, support and show understanding with the nation's leaders in the task of containing the coronavirus pandemic. He said nothing happens on the face of the earth that is not destined by Allah. Ustaz Suleiman, however, explained that solutions lie in prayers to Allah, taking precautionary measures, accepting responsibility, and avoiding acts contrary to the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad. For the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, President Muhammadu Buhari once again demonstrated leadership by example.
The president as a citizen himself, but beyond that, as a leader of the people. He has a duty to show the Nigerian public the way to observe the prescribed protocols as they exist in the FCT. And I think this is what the president had done, going through the check who is going into the mosque, and then they sanitize their own hands, and then they keep social distance, inside. So all of it is to show Nigerians this is the way, and that is the responsibility of leadership. Without this, the war against coronavirus cannot be defeated. Otherwise, all of the gains that have been made will be reversed. So I think this is an essential lesson President Buhari has indicated and should be observed by Nigerians.
Let's thank Almighty God for seeing this improvement and development. And let's continue praying that let's see the end of this coronavirus. And secondly, for the Nigerian youth, let them abide by the guidelines given by the PTF. And I'm sure the guidelines will pave a lot of ways for the ease of lockdown and movement within the country.
Special prayers were offered to Allah for an end to COVID-19, as well as sustainable peace and prosperity of the country. From the State House, Adam Musambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Muslim worshippers at the Area 10 Jumat Mosque have observed the congregational Jumat prayer following the reopening of worship centers in the FCT. Abdullah Ajia reports that the Imam's sermon was centered on thanksgiving to Allah for the faithfulness and mercy against all owed since the COVID-19 pandemic shocked the world.
For the first time after the reopening of worship centers in the FCT, for prayers to be observed under health protocol guidelines, worshippers at the Area 10 Jumat Mosque converged to worship Allah, with much sensitization by the mosque management and the Imam on practical safety measures put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The sermon reawakens faith in the worshippers to give thanks to Allah for life and health, despite the ongoing public health battle that has prevented congregational Jumat for so many weeks.
We are happy and we are lucky and we are grateful, thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this reopening of worshiping centers to be actualized.
Musa Ali Gosa was one among many worshippers who said he feels spiritually enthusiastic attending the Jumat prayer again.
Last time we pray after the lockdown, and we have to appreciate God for everything that we have found ourselves. If in my lifetime they tell me that something will happen like this, I won't believe it. But I have seen it with myself, and I witness it, and I believe and I pray this thing will be the first and the last.
A special supplication was offered to Allah to urgently intervene as a way of providing quick solution to the pandemic, as the mosque officials promised to continue to enforce compliance to the set guidelines for safety. Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
Fears continue to grow over the growth of COVID-19 in Latin America, with the number of confirmed cases in Brazil passing that of Italy to make it the second worst affected country after the United States. This is just as global deaths approach 400,000. Justin Bemunye brings in a global update on COVID-19.
Brazil has overtaken Italy as country with the third highest COVID-19 death toll after a daily record of 1,473 fatalities took its total tally to more than 34,000. The figure published by Brazil's health ministry on Thursday night means only the United States and the United Kingdom have registered more deaths because of the pandemic. The official number of infections rose to nearly 615,000, second only to the US. In the meantime, New Zealand completely halted the coronavirus outbreak in the country. No new cases of COVID-19 is reported in New Zealand in the last 13 days. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said that the country's alert level could be reduced to 1 on June 10. New Zealand now has just one active COVID-19 case. It managed to eliminate this highly contagious disease by enforcing strictest lockdown in the world. Similarly, France has lifted the blockade. Head of the government's advisory committee on the response to coronavirus said the pandemic is now under control. And from Iran, the number of new cases of coronavirus dropped slightly from its new peak on Thursday, with 2,886 more people in the country testing positive for the virus in the past 24 hours, according to the health ministry. Meanwhile, British pharma giant AstraZeneca is on track, rolling out up to 2 billion doses of a coronavirus vaccine in September if ongoing trials prove successful, its chief executive said on Friday. And for a global record of COVID-19 numbers, as at 6 p.m. local time, the number of confirmed deaths now stands at 394,969, according to the Coronavirus Resource Center at the Johns Hopkins University. A total of 6.7 million cases of infection have been confirmed. From this number, Africa has recorded more than 170,000 cases with over 4,700 deaths. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported 11,516 confirmed cases in the country with 323 deaths and 3,535 discharged cases. Justin Bemunye, NTA News.
Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, has urged Nigerians to abstain from patronizing unregulated COVID-19 rapid testing centers, as tests from such places could be inaccurate and create more problems in the management of the virus. He stated this at a press briefing, where he also explained that government will continue with the clinical trial of hydroxychloroquine in the management and treatment of the virus. Nosa Osolo reports.
The commissioner explained that rapid testing for COVID-19 has not been registered and validated for use, even though they are fast and test results are usually ready within 5 minutes. He added that vendors of the product are selling illegally, while advising residents to desist from using the product as it could expose them to the virus.
Only a handful of laboratories have the equipment, have the required environment, and have the required medical personnel that can perform the tests accurately.
Professor Abayomi said government is discovering more cases as it ramps up testing and could adopt home-based treatment of the disease in order to attend to more severe cases in the isolation centers. He added that government will also involve the primary health centers, local governments and residents to perfect this form of care for treatment of the coronavirus disease.
We don't want COVID to affect non-COVID patients. So we don't want people to stay away from the hospital because it would give the impression that doctors are concentrating on COVID-19. That's not true. Many of our doctors are not involved in COVID-19. We've done it that way to make sure that there are doctors that are attending to COVID-19, and there are doctors, in fact more doctors, that are to remain in their position attending to non-COVID illnesses.
Advising residents not to panic, the commissioner said just 1% of death has been recorded since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the state as well as the country compared to other climes in Lagos. Nusa Osula, NTA News.
And from Kano State, we hear the Kano State government is to embark on house-to-house sample collection of suspected COVID-19 cases as part of measures to curb further spread of the disease. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje disclosed this during a periodic media briefing on the COVID-19 response. Abdullahi Mustafa has a report.
Since the last 2 months, when Kano recorded its COVID-19 index case, more than 5,000 samples were tested, out of which 970 tested positive. So far, more than 300 patients have been treated and discharged, while 45 died. Although the number of positive cases is declining in Kano, Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje assured the state government will continue to initiate additional containment measures. Already, he disclosed plans are on to commence house-to-house collection of samples to address the challenges of resistance and difficulty in visiting testing and sample collection centers.
Whatever we do to fight this infectious disease must be sustained. There's no time to go back. There's no time to relax our efforts, especially that we are being motivated that we are achieving some results.
Numerous other measures have been in place by the State Task Force on COVID-19 and the Technical Response Team, while the Palliatives Committee reported the successful completion of the second phase of distribution. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Nigerian Air Force has trained 38 personnel with the requisite nursing skills to respond to the growing need for prevention and treatment of coronavirus infection. Chief of the Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, in a message to the first sight of nurses graduating at the Nigerian Air Force School of Sciences and Aviation Medicine, Kaduna, reiterated the resolve of the force towards training and retraining of personnel for efficient discharge of their duties. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachukun reports.
These are student nurses after a 6-month preliminary session preparatory to their clinical training in the Nigerian Air Force School of Medical Sciences and Aviation Medicine. As it is in nursing tradition, this, among other induction rituals, symbolizes their commitment to serve and achieve professional excellence in the Nigerian Air Force nursing profession.
We are aware that a lot is expected from us as student nurses, especially in terms of discipline, hard work, loyalty, and perseverance.
In his message delivered by Air Secretary, Nigerian Air Force, Chief of the Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar says, realization of the imperative of highly trained and motivated healthcare personnel in the fight against coronavirus pandemic and national defense and security informed the training in new skills of nursing to enable them contribute optimally to national health requirements.
Considering the prevailing circumstances of COVID-19 pandemic, this will go in no small way in helping the country in general to handle the pandemic.
The first set of the students will undergo additional 3-year clinical training at the school, in addition to their practical contributions to health services in the Nigerian Air Force. In Kaduna, I am Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachukun.
You are still watching the news at 9:09 here. Let's take a break for some messages. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Choose to do this with your stew, but not your data. Get more out of life with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# today. Data is life.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
We're in a fight to protect everything that matters to us. It's a fight to build, share, celebrate, and soar once more. It's a fight to win back our world. So let's fight it the way we have for generations. Let's practice healthy habits. Let's protect our hands, our homes, and our loved ones within them. Because if we do, together, we will win. Dettol, protect what's worth fighting for.
The Nigerian Communications Commission wishes to express its gratitude to the President, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, over the approval to designate the telecommunications infrastructure as Critical National Infrastructure, CNI. We equally appreciate the visionary leadership of Mr. President for appointing Dr. Issa Ali Ibrahim Pantani as the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. This is a case of a round peg in a round hole. Within the short period of assumption of office, he has, on behalf of the federal government, among other things, achieved the following for the industry: development of the National Digital Policy and Strategy document, initiated and supervised the development of the National Broadband Plan 2020 to 2025, initiated and obtained approval of many state governors to crash the right-of-way charges to almost zero. Long live Mr. President. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Professor Umar Garba Dambata, Executive Vice Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Communications Commission, announcer.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 22 55 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for rejoining us. Now, in furtherance to the work being done by the Buhari administration to improve power supply across the country, the Presidential Power Sector Reform Working Group is considering a World Bank-supported project for distribution of infrastructure in the sector. The Presidential Power Sector Reform Working Group, constituted by President Muhammadu Buhari and chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, plans to stimulate inflow of additional investment into the power sector in line with the Presidential Power Initiative. At a virtual meeting of the working group chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, discussions focused on funding infrastructure projects in the distribution subsector. Officials of the World Bank joined the meeting to discuss rapid funding for the sector with a focus on distribution infrastructure, including mass consumer metering under a $1 billion facility, that is, the Distribution Sector Recovery Program. This is in addition to the Siemens Presidential Power Initiative interventions announced by the federal government last week. The Petroleum Products Pricing and Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, says no private individual or group has the mandate to fix prices of petroleum products except the statutory government organization saddled with the responsibility of advising and guiding prices. The introduction of a market-based pricing regime as a result of the deregulation of the downstream subsector of the petroleum industry does not erode the role of a regulator in monitoring and regulating activities in the sector. Mayor Ogidi in this special report puts issues into perspective.
With the oil and gas sector driving the economy for many years, whatever affects petrol affects all strata of the society. And the recent decision by the federal government completely deregulating the downstream subsector of the petroleum industry, giving independent marketers the right to import and sell the product based on the dictates of market forces, is dominating the public space with several interpretations. However, government is not leaving consumers to their own devices or the outright whims and caprices of independent marketers. So, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, continues to monitor the international crude oil market monthly and advise the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and oil marketers on the monthly guiding price for the commodity. A strength PPPRA draws from Section 7 and 24 of the agency's Establishment Act No. 8 of 2003.
On monthly basis, PPPRA is going to come up with a monthly guiding price on how much PMS will be sold. And it's going to be a reflection of what the market is doing every month.
The coronavirus pandemic hit hard on the global economy, with the oil industry receiving the greatest shock, resulting in the price of crude oil crashing, necessitating a downward review of petrol pump price. For Nigeria, it is the perfect time to take out subsidy on the product, removed completely from the revised 2020 national budget. With a price modulation mechanism now in place, prices are to be reviewed monthly. June 3, 2020 saw the federal government, through the PPPRA, placing the price of petrol within 121.50 naira to 123.50 naira per litre bound for the month of June.
This price set by the government is going to run till the end of the month.
It is indeed a good news for the consumer, but many marketers of the product are yet to adjust their pumps to the new price. Assurance from the PPPRA is that whether deregulation or not, the interest of the consumer must be protected from any form of exploitation. Mayor Ogidi, NTA News.
To other matters now, the Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila says the National Assembly will engage houses of assembly across the 36 states on the need for the domestication of the Child Rights Act and Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. While hosting gender-based civil society organizations, the Speaker promised effective legislation on sexual-based violence to conform with current realities.
Part of the resolutions we reached yesterday was to even establish, make sure we start that every police station establishes a unit for sexual offenses, separate from everything else. That's part of the resolutions that we reached. Again, police culpability, aiding and abetting. It was brought up on the floor yesterday. It's part of the resolutions that the House reached yesterday. So we are taking state of emergency, what was brought up yesterday. So that's why I said we're on the same page.
He assured the group that the National Assembly is in solidarity with and supports all efforts at eliminating gender-based and all forms of violence and abuse. Representatives of the gender-based CSOs demanded that a state of emergency be declared on domestic violence against women and make such offences criminal, since many victims do not come forward. Women and children, girls, constitute great percentage of the nation's population of more than 180 million. What is in store for these categories of persons, going by the fact that no nation develops without contributions of the female folk? Talatu Ezrike brings us up to speed on how well and how far for women and girls.
The strength of the woman keeping up with demands, either at the home front or in business venture. 39-year-old Angela Mendy derives joy in cooking sumptuous meal, but not comfortable with using firewood in cooking.
I work for this one days. Anytime I want to hear this one, now some of them I need to drink water every time. Now this water help me.
Like many women who use firewood for cooking are at risk of having health challenges, in addition to endangering the environment, leading to desertification. Records show that about 4 million people die each year from household air pollution. More worrisome is the report that 2.9 billion people in the developing world still use polluting fuel like wood, coal and charcoal. This explains the campaign for the usage of environmental-friendly stove to address concerns on climate change. For the likes of Angela, it is welcome development.
Maybe they go get people where they go help me for the stove. I go to use them. They use them to cook my food. All this fire I go raise at this smooth.
Increasing cases of violence against women and girls and the slow pace of states in adopting the 2015 Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, VAP, that has stiffer sanctions for offenders, are issues still being clamored for. So far, only the FCT and 4 other states have adopted it.
This VAP Act should be gazetted, stamped and signed. Make it mandatory for all states to adopt. High rates of sexual offences, even to the extent of incest. A father raping a daughter, a 3-year-old daughter. It's not even as if he's an outsider. This is the present case that I'm handling right now. This is getting too unbecoming. I don't know what the society is turning into.
The attainment of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and SDGs is also on the front burner, with Nigeria said to be doing well through its social intervention programs and enabling environment.
They call market money, which is given to different NGOs, and NCWS is a beneficiary. We are giving 50,000 naira to 30 people in each of the 774 local government. So the money goes to the grassroots, it goes to the women.
Having all women trained in tailoring or in soap making is not necessarily going to get them out of poverty. But in their communities, if there are non-traditional skill sets that women can also be trained in and meet the development needs of the community.
Much as these are being done, more they say need to be done to have women elected into position of governance, constitutionally gazetting the 35% affirmative action, addressing gender imbalance, and provide more enabling environment for them to thrive. Talatu Ezrike, NTA News.
Quite disturbing and gut-wrenching videos we see on the social media these days on rape. Now, residents of Isanlo in Yagba East local government area of Kogi State are still battling with fear and the trauma of Thursday's robbery attack, which claimed the lives of 8 policemen, including the divisional police officer. Correspondent Retimi Ebo now gives us an update.
Yes, Isalu in Yagba East local government area of Kogi State enjoyed absolute peace until recent attack by a group of armed bandits. The armed bandits in their numbers invaded the divisional police headquarters and First Bank of Nigeria PSC in Isalu. 8 policemen, including the divisional police officer, were killed in the process. Some of the policemen and other people who escaped the attack were severely injured.
They just met me at police station. So they don't even want to know anybody. It's only God saved me. Because they needed to kill me, but I thank God. God saved me.
It was about 15:00 hours yesterday. We're just hearing we say, is this SARS that just entered now that we're releasing the bullet? We were here. Later we said, no, it wasn't them. That it should be armed robber.
The extent of destruction was enormous as no part of the affected structures, including the offices, were spared. The local security office, popularly known as Vigilante, situated opposite the divisional police headquarters, was also attacked. Kogi State Commissioner of Police Ede Ayuba and Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 8, Yunada Babas, who visited the scenes of the attack, assured the people that the perpetrators will be brought to book.
8 people have been confirmed dead, 8 officers at the bank premises that was not dead, but they were able to cut away some cash, and you met them. They are trying to reconcile their accounts so that they'll be able to give us the actual figure for the purpose of our investigation. But for now, we are into investigation and we are commence it and we are into it, and we are going to make sure that we do it to its logical conclusion. The blood that was shed, I believe, will not even allow them to rest until we get at them, and we are not going to delay.
From Isalu Yagba East, Rotimebu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has prevailed on security agencies in the state to go after the criminals who carried out Thursday's bank robbery. Governor Bello gave the directive and condoled with families of those who lost their lives in the unfortunate attack. He charged residents of the state to readily assist the security operatives in their own way by providing useful information to help combat crime in the state. In the meantime, the Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, has ordered a full-scale manhunt for the perpetrators of the crime. In a statement, the IGP, while condemning the incident, has deployed a team of crack detectives from the Intelligence Response Team, the Special Tactical Squad and the Federal SARS to Kogi State to ensure that the criminals are apprehended and brought to book. The IGP has also directed the Assistant Inspector General, AIG of Police in charge of the Zone 8 Police Headquarters, Lokoja, AIG Yunana Babas, MNI, to immediately assess and review the security arrangement in Kogi State and environs so as to prevent any further occurrence of such incident in the state. 6 persons, including 5 children from a single family, have been abducted by gunmen at Goningora, Chikon local government area of Kaduna State. Muhammad Umar Anjiki tells us more.
48-year-old Bamidele Ewelewa is the father of the 5 children who were abducted by the armed men at about 11 o'clock Thursday night. He says they broke in through this window and went away with his children, the youngest being 8 years.
One of them ran inside the bathroom by second born. Immediately he see me, he touched me, he run back. As me, I even hold that one down for safe. My third born this morning, because when I came back yesterday, is feeling terrible sickness. That is how they go with this, but without cloth. My second born without cloth, that is how they later come back inside my room, remove my jacket, pack some shoe, maybe to give them or to give them the.
Another person was abducted at a neighboring house, bringing the total to 6. The community is still in shock and fear, but the security agents have assured of their resolve to rescue the abductees and forestall reoccurrence.
The police have started and the other security agencies have started to ensure that the people kidnapped are not only back but back alive and healthy. This we can assure you.
The Commissioner of Police, Umar Muri, asked the residents to help security agents by providing useful information that will help combat crime in the state. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
In spite of COVID-19 in Nigeria, the development of infrastructure has not been delayed as government is tackling the challenges of overcrowding and tickets racketeering with the delivery of new coaches and locomotives to the Abuja-Kaduna train service. Onea Kalu Oka reports.
The state-of-the-art coaches are modified for safety and higher speed. The interior of the coach is widely spaced for more legroom, charging point for each seat, and hand washing point at the entrance. The station manager, Pascal Nolly, says with this addition, the number of trips will be increased from 8 to 14 trips daily.
We don't have enough coaches and locomotives to move our passengers. That is why you hear slogans like ticket racketeering, this and that and that. But with these new deliveries, those things are going to be things of the past because everybody will be taken care of.
The 2 new locomotives are of high technology that are said to be durable, efficient and effective. With the 10 new coaches, the Abuja-Kaduna train service now has a total of 21 coaches. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA News.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons is planning to construct 500 housing units for IDPs in Zamfara State, just as it received the commitment of the state government to provide 50 hectares of land for the takeoff of the project before December this year. The National Commissioner in charge of the Commission, Senator Bashir Garba, stated this while flagging off the distribution of relief materials to the internally displaced persons in the state. Haliru Muhammad Umar reports.
The recurrent activities of bandits, cattle rustlers and kidnappers in Zamfara State have over the years ravaged several communities, resulting in the displacement of so many people who are in serious need of assistance to resume normal life. This prompted the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons to deliver food and non-food materials to the state for distribution to people affected by attacks and other security challenges. The beneficiaries drawn from communities in 5 local government areas of Anka, Gusau, Maradun, Shinkafi and Zurmi were assisted with bags of rice, maize, millet, detergents, cooking ingredients and clothing materials among other items to alleviate their sufferings. The beneficiaries, who were full of delight, expressed gratitude to the federal government for the gesture, which they said would improve their living condition. The Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons had earlier paid a courtesy visit on the Zamfara State Deputy Governor.
We will build a 500 settlement household fully equipped with facilities and livelihood support schemes.
This intervention will go a long way to complement similar efforts by the Zamfara State government, which have been linked through the Zamfara State Emergency Management Agency.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons is working closely with state governments to reduce rampant attacks through intergovernmental cooperation to mitigate displacement. In Gusau, Haliru Muhammad Umar, NTA News.
To ensure food security post-COVID-19, the federal government is planning to empower 77,400 young farmers on agribusiness through National Agriculture Land Development Authority, NALDA. Executive Secretary NALDA, Paul Ekone, said this at a news conference. He said young farmers will be drawn from the 774 local government areas of the country, with a pilot number of 100 per local government, adding that under this initiative, NALDA will partner with governors for provision of land, saying this will create employment and food production will be increased. NALDA was established in 1992 but ceased to exist and function in 2000. But now President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has revived it. At a time when humanity is gasping for breath in the battle to survive, comes a pandemic suspected to be rooted in the world. Global attention now remains fixed on better ways to interact with Mother Earth. In commemorating World Environment Day 2020, the United Nations believes it is time for man to focus on the roles nature plays in providing infrastructure needed to support life on Earth and human development. Onege Fife reports.
World Environment Day 2020 acknowledges it is time for people to pay attention to nature, on which humans depend for health, water, food, medicines and other essentials for healthy living.
There's a lot of plants of medicinal value that are becoming extinct, a lot of animals that are endangered and becoming extinct. The butterflies are practically disappeared from our environment, and they're not just for beautification, they actually aid in pollination and give us fruits. So as we celebrate this World Environment Day, we need to appreciate nature we need to reflect, and we need to take definite steps to conserve nature.
Time for nature. The theme for World Environment Day 2020 advocates deliberate action from individuals, communities, and governments of the world to protect, conserve, and respect other lives on Earth.
Everyone should join one bird club or the other. Abuja has its own, the Abuja Bird Club. There are bird clubs all over Nigeria. We go out, we watch, we explore nature, we take the statistics, we look at how nature is thriving. Over the years, we can have a pattern of improvement or degradation, then we know how to mitigate.
In line with this commemoration, Nigeria has policies to conserve its biodiversity, some of which include planting of 25 million trees and ongoing efforts at cleaning pollution-impacted sites in the Niger Delta region.
As a nation, Nigeria remains committed to maintaining a healthy environment and safeguarding our ecosystems. The pandemic has shown us that we need to find ways to live in harmony with one another and, of course, with nature.
Creating time for nature affords man the opportunity to address deforestation, climate variations and change, biodiversity loss, pollution, ozone depletion, and other unhealthy environmental practices. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
This is the NTA Network News. Now time to join Hingino in our Lagos studio for more reports. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Jumai. 5th of June every year is used to promote worldwide awareness and actions to protect and save the environment. This year, the focus is on the need to better harness the abundant resources that nature has provided and the key role biodiversity plays in taming the raging coronavirus. Environment correspondent Jennifer Igwe is set to tell us the views of environmentalists on 2020 World Environment Day theme.
The variety of living species on Earth make up the biodiversity, from man, plants and animals to fungi and bacteria. Man's activities, however, from pollution, global warming, over-exploitation of resources, to cutting down of trees, eco-unfriendly production and consumption patterns, have destroyed and are still threatening nature's rich biodiversity. A good example is the indiscriminate disposal of plastic waste into the lagoons and oceans. These non-biodegradable waste kills aquatic creatures that are beneficial to man.
It has been said that 75% of infectious diseases that affect humans are from the wild. And why? Because we have decided to interrupt in the normal flow. We forget the fact that we are part of the biodiversity. We are not away from it. We are part of it. And if we destroy that complex web, if we destroy that balance that nature has created, we will do it at our detriment.
Environmentalists also say biodiversity holds the key to taming the raging coronavirus pandemic.
The effect of COVID-19 in the arid area, the very cold environment, is different from what we have in Africa. This can also be said to affect the kind of medicines or the kind of remedies that could be chunked out for different parts of the world.
Experts are also saying that zoonotic diseases that we've been having in recent times, and I mean diseases that can be transferred from animals to humans, and even the COVID-19 should be a wake-up call on how we relate with the environment and creatures in it. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. A break beckons. The news continues shortly.
Let's get right into this cooking action.
I swear they read, but the jam just the jam all of us.
Now, how many of us know how to sing the national anthem? I'm sure we do. White on the Nigerian flag. Who can tell me what it stands for?
Peace and unity.
Do we have a flag, man?
Yes, we do.
Taiwo Akikumi. Green, white, green, he made our flag.
Today on Happy Clean Niger Mission, we visit Mrs. Johnson live in Lagos. Helen Paul! Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission? Yes, but how? Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean? I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years. Oh, madam, the regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes. To clean your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for stains in the toilet. Harpic Thick formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach. Wow! Now I'm convinced, Helen Paul. Really? Yeah. Now that she's part of the mission, the next house is yours.
A united Nigeria,
strong in the fight
against COVID-19, to bring a voice of hope, to join hands to bring an end to this pandemic.
Kandi diko hafia si akwado agha n'otu aka ahụ ka ndị nwere ikike ịhụ maka ahụike si dịkwa nkwadebe maka ọgụ a.
Ní ayé àtijọ́, a farapamọ́ lábẹ́ àpáta Olúmọ, a sì borí ogun náà. Àkókò tó láti farapamọ́ sínú ilé.
Mu ci gaba da kaɗaita juna, kuma mu kiyaye wuraren da akwai cunkoson mutane.
Mukumulo pipa pigzinko lokachile.
Womere ya mevokja wokura bowe kokekokyo, woje seriji sanitizer wokura bowe.
Fulbe ballen ko emeden kauten jutne kaben dun nyaw coronavirus. Daroden e wuro ballen gomnati ballen ko emeden dun nyaw dun waray dun dillay.
One Nigeria, different languages, and we shall surely prevail.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities in partnership with Nigerian Television Authority. You can't beat the rich.
And welcome back. We are taking another trip to Port Harcourt as Jenny has some story for us from that axis. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, Jumai. Thank you and welcome to Port Harcourt. At a time when world economies are failing due to the coronavirus disease, the dockyard workers at Boa Terminal Port Harcourt have commended the federal government for the unprecedented intervention to resuscitate Boa terminals after 1 year of inactivity. Osinachi Abraham reports.
They are workers at the Boa Terminal dockyard in Port Harcourt. They have been out of work for over 1 year due to a prolonged dispute between the management of Boa Group and the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, over the stoppage of the commissioning of the $400 million Boa ports and terminals in Port Harcourt. Their joy knew no bounds, given President Muhammadu Buhari's approval of the reopening of its operation.
Some of them could not pay their house rent, some of them could not pay their school fees because of this hardship. But today, the president of Nigeria has heard the cries of the people here in the Port Harcourt port and has said Boa Terminal should reopen. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, and stay safe.
We are very happy with the president of this country for his intervention. This is close to a year that these workers has been suffering. We also appreciate the Boa Group CEO who have reached out to us monthly. We want to say a big thank you to him. May God bless him.
Workers, however, assured the federal government of their commitment towards building a robust economy. In Port Harcourt, Osinachi Abraham, NTA News.
And that's it from Port Harcourt. Jumai is back to you in Abuja.
Thank you, Jenny. Now, INEC has expressed concern over early warning signals of violence ahead of the conduct of party primaries in Edo and Ondo State's governorship elections. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu stated this at an interagency consultative meeting on election security. Mia Ogidi reports.
Political party offices getting busier, steps by party chieftains faster, and INEC also busy in the internet space, chatting with stakeholders as the race to the #1 seats in Edo and Ondo states heightened. More than 2.2 million registered voters warming up in Edo State for September 19th and over 1.8 million registered voters on the wings for the Ondo October 10th day of decision. INEC stakeholders meeting with resident electoral commissioners, civil society organizations, the media and the security agencies, though in separate days, ended this Friday, June 5. All done online.
Are you hearing me? So thank you very much, representative of the NSA. Hello? You can hear me very clearly.
Internet challenges experienced in the new normal. Such movements are inevitable, the INEC chair says on a lighter note. 15 political parties as of Friday, June 5, have indicated interest to conduct their party primaries in Edo, and INEC gives advice to the political parties for smooth conduct in the primaries and the need for security agencies to be on the alert.
Already there are warning signals. The security agencies need to act proactively. An early engagement with the political parties and aspirants is necessary in order to create an atmosphere for peaceful primaries and consequently peaceful elections.
The 10-point policy document on the conduct of the elections in the midst of COVID-19 was at the center of discussion, zooming into the issue of no party or candidate branded face mask at the polling units and the issue of social distancing in all the election activities. Mie Ogede, NT News.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has announced 6 governorship aspirants to be screened for the party's 2020 primary election to elect the Edo State's governorship candidate. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary Larry Issa Onilo, APC said 6 aspirants who have brought completed and submitted the party's expression of interest and nomination forms are Pastor Osagi Ize Ayamo, Godwin Obasaki, Dr. Pius Odubo, Chris Ogwenwinyi, Osaro Obaze, and Matthew Iho Wenze. The primary election will hold on Monday, 22nd June 2020, while election appeal has been slated for Wednesday, 24th June 2020. Now, the Board of Directors of the African Development Bank has approved Nigeria's country strategy paper 2020 to 2024, which builds on the successes and challenges of the 2013-2019 edition and incorporates emerging development realities and opportunities shaping Nigeria's political and economic landscape, including the post-COVID-19 period. The approval was made on the 27th of May 2020. In a statement, Ibrahima Fall, Senior Director for the African Development Bank in Nigeria, reaffirmed the institution's support for Nigeria's socio-economic advancement in the implementation of the CSP. The bank will also support Nigeria to address economic shocks associated with the COVID-19 pandemic and oil price shocks by focusing our intervention on sectors that will strengthen public health infrastructure and accelerate efforts towards economic transformation and diversification of export earnings and fiscal revenues from oil. We'll take a break now. When we return, more reports. Don't go away.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on. What's your tomorrow? Community meeting now. You know they here, Abi? Now beg you. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no. This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If we want to elect the new secretary, we fit
do one for WhatsApp or for Skype or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate.
This social distancing, it is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Minister of Defense Bashir Magashi this Friday received in audience the Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Abe Thakur, during which discussions centered on improved military cooperation between Nigeria and India, accompanied by the Indian Defense Advisor, Colonel Sachin Dube. The High Commissioner tabled issues of bilateral interest to both countries in the fight against banditry and insurgency. The meeting is expected to open a new vista of mutually beneficial agreements in defense cooperation. Special Assistant on Media to the Minister, Mohammed Abdul Qadir, in a statement said discussions held behind closed doors. Sports update is next.
Fans will be thrilled yet